think you should break up with them. I just wouldn't want to spend the night at his apartment. I told myself that I really didn't want to date anyone for a year. Hello guys, today I am doing a dating and relationships Q&A / advice video. I am literally just sitting on my bed in some really comfy pants and a bodysuit on my bed. I'm also filming this video on my vlog camera because I just immediately feel like every time I turn on my vlog camera, it's chill. I can say what I want to. I'm not as guarded. I don't know what it is compared to like using my nice DSLR camera. If you guys are new here, my name is Michelle Reed. I make college and lifestyle videos. I am a senior in college and I have been in a relationship now for almost like 2.5 years. And so I feel like I'm in an interview right now, like saying my qualifications, but I've been in 2 relationships my whole life. One was 3 years. The one I'm currently in is 2.5 years. So I feel like I have some knowledge about dating and just advice in general. It's also really cloudy today, and so the lighting might be a little bit interesting, but I also want to say if my opinions are different than yours, that is totally okay. This is just me personally. Obviously everyone has different opinions on dating, and so I am not saying that my opinions are the greatest or the best. These are just simply my opinions. Do you ever feel less in love some days? What do you do in these cases? I really like this question because I think it's a good one to address. I think it really shapes what you believe love to mean. I think if you've ever been in a long-term relationship, there are days when you're just like not, the spark isn't as strong as it is other days, but I don't think you're ever less in love. You're less sensing about that love, if that makes sense. I feel like love persists no matter what. There's a verse that talks about like the definition of love and how love like pursues, it's not judging, all these different things, and I think that's so true. While you are always in love with someone, you know, there are times when you're just having a bad day, the spark's not there, you're annoyed. I will say that's normal. I think it's easy on the internet just to see people's relationships and assume that they are perfect and everything is perfectly fine. That's just not true. There's some days when it's like not rainbows and butterflies, and that is completely okay. I think you just like go through the motions and then tomorrow is a new day. Would you wait until married to move in with your husband? This is something that I get a lot of questions about, and I honestly feel like a broken record talking about saving myself for marriage. And I feel like I don't watch The Bachelor, but I know like there's this whole thing about how like all the media talks about is how this guy like is saving himself for marriage, and how it's, I don't know, I think it's a big deal, but I don't think it's as big as we make it out to be. And so given that I am saving myself for marriage, I wouldn't move in with my husband beforehand. People might say that that's stupid, or like, how do you know how someone behaves? How do you know their habits? Like, isn't that bad to not do beforehand? For me personally, I feel like if you're dating someone for years upon years, you kind of know their habits. And honestly, if I figure out that the person I'm about to marry is really messy, like, yeah, that's a big deal, but it's not something that you can't work through if you're married. Like, you should be able to work through those things. I also don't know if this is a complete true statistic because statistics can be really false, but I also know that the divorce rate is typically lower for people who don't live together before they're married. And so I would want to wait to move in with my husband. I feel like that for me is just something that would be really special. Just, you know, like getting married, going on our honeymoon, and coming home and like living in our first apartment together. Those are things that for me, I don't know, it sounds really, really cool, or something that I look forward to. And someone say that the best way to get used to living with people is to have really bad roommates. And I think you learn through that too. It's like you learn how to deal with people, and it's not gonna make anything harder. How to maintain contact with your ex as friends when you're dating somebody else. I think this varies from like person to person. There's some people who can like totally be best friends with their exes, and I think that's okay. I just know from my standpoint, if I was dating someone who was really friendly with their ex, then I would be worried, but I feel like that would just not be entirely normal to me. I think it's good to be on good terms with the person that you broke up with and to have closure, but whether or not you're friends with them again, I think is kind of a tricky thing, and it varies on your personality type and how like flirty that person is and what their intentions are. I don't know, I just feel like it's not like a clear-cut answer. It varies from person to person. Do you have any advice on dating with mental health issues? This one was anonymous, but I think that this is a great question, and it's something that is definitely super present. For me personally, I am someone who really deals with anxiety, not necessarily in like a diagnosed by a doctor way. I know that's totally different. I'm not discounting that. I think I can't speak on that because I'm not taking medicine. I'm not, like I said, diagnosed by a doctor, but I have struggled a lot with just worry and anxious thoughts. Whether you think that's anxiety or not, it's a totally different discussion, but for me personally, I think it's really important to know that if someone is going through something that you're dating, it is not your job to fix that person. It is not your job to solve their problem. I I think a lot of issues happen whenever you're dating someone who is going through these things and you feel like you need to like quote save them and quote be the person who fixes their problems, and that's just not true. For me personally, whenever I'm dating someone, it's just very important for me to tell that person that whenever I'm going through these things, it is not your job to fix them. You can listen to me, you can be there for me, but I don't think that you have to fix that. I think that's an important thing to establish early on. I know you aren't having sex with Aiden, but do you guys still spend nights at each other's houses? This is a definite no. Whenever he visited me back home, he spent the night at my house, but obviously we were like, he was sleeping in a different room. My parents were there, and even if they weren't, we wouldn't. Yeah, we don't ever spend the night at each other's houses. It's just not something that I feel like in New York too, when you have roommates, I don't understand how people do that when you don't have your own bedroom. And I don't know, I just wouldn't want to spend the night at his apartment with all of his guy roommates. He wouldn't want to spend the night at my place whenever I have a roommate. I just think that's kind of strange. Ever miss being single? It's almost also anonymous, and the answer would be no, I really don't. I am in a relationship, and this is something that I think is really important, that whenever you are dating someone, that you know who you are without that person, if that makes sense, that you have your own identity, your own hobbies, your own activities, you have your own alone time, you're independent despite being in a relationship. And then whenever you are with the person that you're dating, that you're just made stronger because you already know who you are and you're not trying to find your identity in the person that you're dating. And so I don't miss being single. I was never the kind of person who was single and that I would like go drink at bars, or I don't know what people do, like hook up with people or like flirt with other guys. That's just not my personality type. I'm like the least flirty person, for one. I also don't drink, and so I don't have like these wild crazy single stories. I still have friends of both sexes. Like I'm not in a codependent relationship, and so it makes me not miss being single. I'm almost 20 and have never been kissed. How do I feel like people are not ahead of me? I like this question because I will say I've always been a late bloomer, and so I definitely resonate with this question. My first kiss happened whenever I was 16, which I feel like for me was a little bit too early. I kind of regret having my first kiss that young. I felt like I was so young and just like underprepared. I don't even know. It is totally okay. Everyone is not ahead of you. The fact that you haven't been kissed and you're 20 just means that it's going to be so much more special whenever it does happen. And at the same time, it's not something to be overhyped. Like a first kiss is fun, but it's a first kiss, like it happens. Everyone is on a different wavelength, and just the fact that you're on your wavelength is totally okay. You do not have to be like anyone else. I feel like it can be easy when you watch TV shows or see on Instagram or whatever you do to be like, I'm so far behind everyone. For me, it's not so much in a dating aspect, but like in career stuff, I have a tendency to feel like I'm behind people. And just know that that feeling is not how it's supposed to be. You're not meant to feel that way. My mom always tells me this, but she says all you can do is all you can do. And I think that's so true, that what you're doing is okay, where you're at is okay. How do you know where the line of working too hard for a relationship is? I like this question because I am someone who believes that love and relationships are work. I feel like that's kind of countercultural. I think we have this idea of love that it should be easy and it should just fit and it should make you feel good, and it should really kind of in like a self-help generation. I think it's easy to think that the person that you're dating should just be making you feel great. And obviously if you're in a toxic relationship where you don't feel great, where you don't feel like a better person, then that is not good. But at the same time, there are times when you have to learn how to forgive someone. You have to learn how to grow together and, you know, get past issues. And especially if you're going to get married, those are important things to do, because whatever is going on in your relationship right now is just going to be emphasized whenever you get married. It's going to be 10 times worse. I think a good measure is to know if the other person is working just as hard as you are, and if they are, I think that's a great way to determine if the relationship is something that's worth working for. It's getting so cloudy. If you are straining pretty much every single day of your relationship, I feel like that is definitely a warning sign. I feel like you should not be constantly feeling bad about yourself. If this person is making you more insecure than you already are, that's a warning sign. I also think it's really important when you're dating to have close friends who can kind of see if the relationship is something that is good, especially friends that have been along for a while. And if they are kind of being like, hey, I don't really think this is the most healthy relationship, your first instinct is going to be to question them and get defensive. But take what they say into account, because they probably know better than you do whenever you're blinded by love. My boyfriend cheated on me. Any tips on how to deal with that? I'm just gonna be completely honest here. I don't think there are any tips to deal with it. I think you should break up with that. I don't know if that's harsh. I don't know if that's like judging the situation, but you deserve to be with someone who respects you and loves you. And I think if someone is cheating on you, if someone is doing things with another person, that is totally not respecting you, that's not loving you, that's not having your best interests at heart, at the end of the day, it's hurting you. I could cry talking about this, but I would say break up with them. Do I think that people can change? I do. Do I think that you can forgive people? Of course. But I think those things take time, and I don't think that necessarily just forgiving someone right away and accepting it is a very smart thing. My boyfriend looks at wedding venues a lot. How do I not panic about whether he's the one or not? I like this question because I think this is totally a communication thing. If you are not at that point in your life, you are not ready to look at wedding things and you get scared by that, seriously, just be straight up with him. Sometimes I get questions and I'm like, just tell the person what you think. And maybe that's just because I've been dating for a while and I'm just a very honest person in my relationships. Like if I'm feeling something, then like he's gonna know. Tell him that makes you uncomfortable. It's not to say that you don't want to marry him. It's just maybe it's early on, maybe it's not time of your life where you're thinking about those things. I think that you should be with someone that like maybe down the line you could see yourself marrying them. But if that's making you uncomfortable, just tell that person. Where do you see your relationship in a year? So in a year, it will be March of next year. Aiden will be in his last semester of college. I will hopefully have a job in New York City, just living life. I'd like to be engaged at this point though. I'm pretty sure, obviously that's something that I can't entirely control, but if I could have it my way, I would definitely like to be engaged. Yeah. At what age did you start dating? I had my first boyfriend whenever I was 16, which I really don't regret. I don't regret that relationship at all. I don't know if I was entirely ready to start dating at 16. I think it definitely depends depending on the person. I was never someone who had boyfriends in like middle school or even like little boyfriends that didn't count. I was never like that. I don't even think my parents would have let me do that. We didn't really talk about it, but I think they just kind of knew that wasn't something that I was into. How do you stop insecurities from affecting your relationship? I love this question because I think that this is the root of so many relationship issues, and I think that this is something that totally needs to be addressed. I cannot emphasize how important it is to be confident in yourself and confident in your words before you get in a relationship. I feel like you hear that and it just kind of passes right through, but you don't understand how much it can hurt your relationship if you are insecure. I'm not saying you can't like change and grow while you're in a relationship. You should always be changing and growing. But I do think if you go into a relationship with insecurities, with baggage, all that's gonna do is just flunk that onto the other person and it's gonna make them insecure, and it's just not right. It's so important to know your worth outside of the person that you're dating. It can feel really great when that person tells you that you're beautiful and that you are smart and talented and whatever, but you have to know those things without meeting that person. That comes a lot from my faith, being a Christian, knowing my worth through God. At the root of how I deal with all my insecurities is praying about it and learning, you know, what my true identity is in Christ. Obviously, not everyone shares the same faith, so I feel like I can't answer this for everyone. Whatever process you have to go through to get to that point, whether it be faith, whether it be reading, whether it be reflecting, I don't really know what other ways before you get in a relationship. And obviously, when you're in a relationship, you're still gonna have insecurities. I think it's important to spend time alone. If you're just like having one of those days where you are mad at everyone and like you're just taking it out on everyone and your insecurities are driving you nuts, it can be really helpful to like sit with your significant other and talk about it, but at the same time, you kind of have to know when you just need to be by yourself. Were you seeking a relationship in college / going with the flow? I love this question because I told myself, I ended my last relationship pretty soon going into college, and I told myself that I really didn't want to date anyone for a year. I really just wanted to throw myself into college, throw myself into finding friends in New York City and just like loving life here. I definitely started dating pretty early. Same time, I feel like life has different plans for you. Sometimes you just meet someone who like changes the goals that you thought you had, and so that kind of happened with me. But I was definitely going into it with the mindset of going with flow, and the flow just had other plans. Has anyone ever not wanted to date you because you're saving sex for marriage? No, but at the same time, I feel like I've only dated 2 people, and so I was never like dating someone and then I told them that and then they just like fled. That was never something that happened. And I could definitely see that happening in college, because obviously there are people in college who have a lot of different priorities. But I feel like if you're older, I think we have to give people more credit than we currently do, because people honestly don't really care that much. Like I said, it's not that big of a deal. I feel like we make it into a bigger deal. Me talking about it all the time is probably not helping at all, so I'm part of the problem. Yeah, I don't think so. I overthink everything in a relationship. Do you have any advice on how to fix that? Me too, girl. Sometimes I'll just be talking and I'll be like connecting things that have no connections and just going on these like rabbit trails. Honestly, it's kind of nice being with someone who can tell you that you're being irrational. I say that now. Whenever like I'm actually called out for being irrational, I hate it. But at the time, sometimes you just need to be with someone who's like, no, that's not true. You're going down a rabbit trail. These things are just figments of your imagination. Obviously, be honest about your feelings and the things that you're going through. Be with someone who kind of like tell you how it, and I think it also goes back to being secure in yourself. Like if you are secure in who you aren't going to be overthinking, especially if you're like thinking that someone's cheating on you or not trusting someone. If you're secure in yourself and they are like an upstanding person, you don't have to worry about those things, and you won't. So those are all the questions I'm going to answer in this video. Let me know if you like this more chatty, chill video. I definitely love doing these. I think that they're so fun. If you guys want to be my next Q&A, make sure to follow me on Instagram. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys probably in a few days. Bye bye.